Hey guys, thanks for joining me again. This one's going to be an interesting project. This is a 1981 Yamaha IT175. I had one of these when I was a kid, actually. This one here I got in a trade. I got this bike. I got this bike, which is a 1999 TTR 250, and I got this antique mower. It's a unknown year, made by Snapper, single blade. Was an 8 horse. Now the guy put a 11 horse on it. It runs, it drives, it cuts. He was cutting his grass with it. What I did was I traded him that 15.5 horse Murray rider that I had for the package of 3. Oh, that's not it. Came with some spare parts, a couple of tires, a big knobby for the back of this, a big knobby for the back of the TTR, and I got too many projects. John Deere's still in here. Got to get this out of here so I can get the dirt bike in. But the carburetor's a mess. So, got the carb off. I'm going to take it apart and soak it. Make sure that everything's hunky-dory in there. There's this brass tube is plugged up. You can see there's evidence that there's been 2-stroke oil dripped in there. Let's get a light on here. Oh, piece of fuel line just broke off. You can see that blue down on the bottom of that. That's residual oil from 2-stroke mix, pre-mix. And I can't hear the float moving in there, so everything's stuck. We're going to tear it down, throw it in this ultrasonic, and go from there. I'm stoked. This one is not going to be a flipper. I'm keeping this one. I'm going to keep this bike. Had loads of fun on the last one I had, so we'll see how this goes. Alright, we'll get you in the stand and get it tore down and get the ultrasonic cleaner warmed up. Okay, so I had all the parts out, got them, got the whole carb disassembled, had it run through the sonic cleaner. Everything appears to be nice and sparkly. Ran it in there. It was probably in there for about probably 10-12 minutes on like this, and then I had to flip it over like this because the solution was only this high, so there's some parts exposed. Didn't get into the cleaning solution, so there's a lot of little parts in this thing. It's got a weird float setup. These actually ride up and down on here. 2 individuals instead of all one float on one lever. So let's get the parts all figured out here. The little spring-loaded piece still is spring-loaded, so that's okay. Drop the needle in. You can tell on the you can tell the little dot there on that tab is where the needle was sitting originally. Get our pin in there. Oh, actually, forgot the needle clip. Let's get a little retainer to make sure the needle doesn't come out too far. That just slides around the seat. Like so. Let's get that in there. I had to tap that out, so I'm going to tap it back in. That's alright. You see that these floats sit, these 2 little tabs sit on there like that. This means the arms go down into the bowl. Let's get the bowl assembled, that way we can drop the floats in there and not worry about it. The sediment bowl's been cleaned out. O-ring's still nice and soft. We'll reuse that. 17 millimeters. Grab a wrench there for a sec. Hang on. Okay, that's in. Looks all right. Make sure my little jets and pieces are clear. All looks good. No junk in there. That's good. We'll set that in. Yeah, like this. That way they can rise into the... Because I forgot to look. Yep, they're upside down, so... Set those in like that. That should be fine. Really nothing else going on in the bowl area. Set that to the side for now. This tube went in from the top. There is a notch running down the side of it. And it lines up with a little tiny pin that's in there. I wonder what the best way to get that in is. Huh, not bad. Pretty well fell right in. There we go. That's seated where it needs to be. So I'm just going to leave stick my finger in the bottom, in through the throat of the carburetor. This little piece was in there. Main jet, nice and clear now. The main jet holds that in. And get it started, half a thread. Yep, 6mm socket. That holds the tube in, holds everything together. Snug but not stupid tight. Nice and clean, this jet's good. Surprisingly, all the jets were actually pretty loose in there. Everything came out relatively easy. I didn't have any issues. I'm sure there's a way to set the float level, but I don't remember what it is. I don't think it's going to be too bad. I mean, the bike was running. He just parked it and stopped riding it, but I think it'll be fine. Give the gasket, the bowl gasket, a little bit of a wipe. It is an old gasket. I'm going to reuse it. If it leaks, I'll replace it. It's not that hard to replace this when it's on the bike. Sit in there properly, somewhat. Yeah, okay. Looks like it's swelled up just a little bit, but it shouldn't be too bad. Okay, so I'm going to flip the carb up this way. Make sure the floats don't go astray. I couldn't hear the floats moving before, but they're okay now. Two screws in the back did not have the tabs on them. The tabs with the holes in them, that's where a couple of overflow hoses go. Little tiny tubes come from the top of the carburetor, and they just drain. The hoses run through those little holes to make sure that they don't get tangled up in anything. I'm not going to tighten that one yet. Until I get all four started, then we can snug them up. I hope the gasket doesn't leak. I can, if I have to, I can make another one. Just take the bowl off, and I'll just make a new gasket. Just going to lightly seat them in an opposing pattern. They weren't terribly tight. Make sure they're all snug. Yep, they're good. Snug it up there. That's good. That's good. That's good. Okay. So flip it up. This little tube had an O-ring on it. Even in the sonic cleaner, that brass stayed green, but the port passage is clear. That'll be fine. It'll work okay for us. Little O-ring on there. That's down in there. Screw to retain it. Carb's nice and clean now. Okay, that's good. That jet goes down in there. Snug it up. Nice and snug. Here's the cap for that. O-ring on it. Slide that on. Snug it up. That should be alright. Might as well get our mixture screw in there. Idle mixture. It was 1 3/4 turns out from bottomed, so that's where I'm going to return it to. From lightly seated, lightly seated. There's our 1/4. Half, 1 3/4. That's perfect. Well, that's where it was anyways. I'm not sure if it's perfect, but that's where it was. This is our idle speed screw. That's not the spring for it, this one is. I'm just going to screw that in until I feel resistance. I won't be able to set that. I didn't check it or anything. I won't be able to set that till it's on the bike and running. Give us our idle speed. There's our choke. Well, I call it a choke, but it's actually not a choke. This is similar to what Harleys have. It's an enrichener. A choke is a flap that restricts air and causes more fuel to go into the engine. This is an enrichener. There's a little rubber piece on the end of this, and when you lift the choke knob, it actually allows extra fuel in, so it enrichens the mixture. It's an enrichener. It's not a choke. Get that on there. That was 12mm right here. There's a little boot went over it. All the way now. Yeah, so normally that fuel passage is cut off. It looks like it actually goes right into here. So the fuel passage is normally shut when that valve is down. When the plunger is lifted in the enriching position, it allows extra fuel in. So it doesn't restrict air, it injects extra fuel. So a little choke knob, or the enrichener knob. Got a microscopic little cotter pin. Slide that in. Bend the legs over. use my needle nose just to make sure those are bent right down nice and flush. Yep, that's in. That one's in. No sharp edges. Choke on, choke off. Enrichener on, enrichener off. Carb's assembled. Floats are still moving the way they should. Sounds alright. It is way too late here to install this and fire it up and try it. So that's going to be a continuation of the video for tomorrow. Going to mix up some gas. This bike does not use regular standard 50-to-1. When it was new, it was spec'd out at 24-to-1. That's a very rich mixture on oil. These ITs used to leave clouds behind them like crazy. Modern oils, the two-stroke oils, are much more advanced. And if you use a quality two-stroke oil, you can lean the mixture out a little bit. 32-to-1. I'm not gonna risk going any less oil than that. I'll run it 32-to-1. It'll still smoke. Used to be, before all the fancy four-stroke dirt bikes were around, that everybody had two-stroke bikes, and if it didn't smoke, there wasn't enough oil in it. So it's normal to have a bunch of smoke curl out of these. So there's a bunch of vent tubes and such. There was a line here. That way. This way. This way. This one is still good. The hose is still nice and pliable. I'll pop that on there. There's a couple other lines, little vents. Well, one's a vent, and one is a bulge rain. This will be a vent. So that gets a little small rubber hose, and it gets put down through one of these tubes. The other one here, down through the tubes. This is a bulge rain, so this just comes out and drops to past the engine down to the ground. So it's an overflow. So if the floats don't shut the valve off, the needle valve, instead of overflowing into the engine, it'll overflow down another tube, and it comes out the bottom here and just drips onto the ground instead of flooding the engine. So, alright, that kind of wraps it up for tonight. It's about, I don't know, 9:30 or so. It's too dark, too late to fire it up. I'll mix some gas in the morning. We'll get this put on the bike. I've already checked for spark. I couldn't, I'm excited for this bike. I'm excited to get it going. I couldn't wait. Couldn't control myself. So before I even got the camera out, I threw a spark tester in there real quick and made sure it had spark, because I didn't want to have to fight with a CDI unit and everything. So I know it's got spark. A previous owner said he hadn't had gas in this thing in probably 10 years, and it looked like it. So I'll tomorrow we'll get the carb on there, and I'll get the gas tank cleaned out and see if we can roll some smoke out in the driveway there. Okay guys, I'll catch up in a bit. So I got the carb put on there. Pulled the choke, kicked it 3 times, fired right up. Not bad for a nearly 40-year-old bike. It's an 81, so it's 38 years old right now, time of this recording. Runs pretty good. Gotta love the sound of a good size 1 lung or 2-stroke. Oh, this is gonna be fun. Alright, so you saw earlier I had it running. There is a small fuel leak developed right where the petcock is bolted onto the tank. There's an O-ring in there that's leaking. So we'll have to adjust that. It does run really, really good. That's going to be awesome. Anyways, it does have a new front tire on it. It's got, I don't know, 2 miles on it. The guy said he put it on there, rode it for a few minutes, and parked the bike, and I hadn't ridden it since. But anyways, that tire's okay. It holds air. That's no problem. The back tire was a bit of a disaster. All the spokes were loose. So I got looking into getting a spoke kit for it, which is what the previous owner said he was going to do as well. But they're $100 and something, and yeah, I wanted to see if I could just fix it. So I got some penetrating oil on the spoke nipples. The nipple is the part that goes through the rim there. And I let it soak, and I twisted them all with vice grips individually, got them all free, and then I got them all basically just the slack taken out. So I haven't even trued the wheel yet, so just basically got the slack taken out of the spokes. That was supreme patience it took to do that, turning these little things a quarter turn at a time with needle nose vice grips. But it was it was loose enough that the rim would actually flop about an inch from center, so it was really bad, really loose. Now it's actually snug. It's got a bit of a wow in it. There's two different kinds of run out. There's lateral run out, which is a side to side run out. It's not crazy bad. There's also the vertical run out, or hop. So all that takes is tightenings, because they pulls from the left or the right depending on the position of the spoke. All that takes to cure lateral run out is adjusting, say it's going to the right in a certain spot, you would just adjust the left pulling spokes. Sometimes you'd have to loosen the right and tighten the left, but it's all of this is a quarter turn at a time, and usually you would, if you're going to make a movement like that, you would loosen 3 spokes and then snug 3 spokes, and small movements, small amounts. The spec on this is 2 millimeters. I'm allowed to actually have 2 millimeter to run out, and I don't even think I have that. The camera looks like it amplifies it, but there's maybe 2 millimeters there. But anyways, like I said, like I can actually just, there's still a couple of loose ones, but I'm going to snug them up and I'll start truing that thing. That could take a while. But anyways, it saves a new spoke kit. There is 1 spoke missing. The rest, they're not bent. They were just loose. So I'm just going to see if I can get that figured out. The tire's still decent. I might, previous owner did give me a new tire. Well, not a new, but another tire that would fit the back of this bike. And I'll check that one out. See whatever tire is better, I'll put it on the bike. The tube does have a leak in it. I can find it and patch it, or I can install the brand new tube that the previous owner gave me. Brand new, it was in the box. So that's a job for tomorrow. It's the end of the day here, into the evening, well into the evening. It's time for me to wash up my hands and go in and watch TV for a bit. Till tomorrow, guys. Okay, so I got the rim trued up as good as I'm going to get it. I don't have a nice spoke wrench, and I don't have a torque wrench for the spokes, but if you just tap each one of them with a wrench, you should hear them ring. They're all about the same tone, so they're close enough. I don't race this thing. I'm not going to be a motocrosser. This is just going to be out for fun on the trails. But anyways, got the chain a little bit tighter. It's not too bad. Let's see if I can get a stable shot of that. Maybe. A little bit of wobble there I'm not concerned with. So I picked the best of the 2 tires that I had. This one's got more tread on it, and it's a newer tire. It's still soft and pliable. The old one was hard as a rock and cracked all over the sides, so this one will do just fine. I put the new tube in it, but I do have the old tube. If I need to, I can put a patch on it and call that fixed. So I guess next up, we got a couple of things we got to look at. Gonna need to drain and change that transmission fluid. It's a 2-stroke. There's nothing on the bottom of the engine, but the transmission uses 10W30, so I'll have to do that. Gonna have to take the tank off. There's a fuel leak right here, so I know there's an O-ring in there. I don't know what else is going on, but we'll take the fuel tank off, flip it upside down, and see what we can do. Alright, we'll get things organized here and carry on. I am going to repaint it back to original colors, even though this year had the horrible white fenders. I liked them better all blue, but whatever, it's going back original. So I'm not sure if the camera's going to pick up the difference. This is very pale. It's a pale blue because it's faded. And on the side of the, yeah, I'm probably not going to pick it up. Fluorescent lighting. Anyways, this is quite a bit darker than that. It's hard to see on camera, but it's the tank is faded. Oh, actually, you can see the contrast there. So this is, it's still faded, but that's more the original color. This is too pale, so I'm going to repaint it this color. Just the side plates and the tank, and I'm going to clean up the fenders. But we've got to make sure it's mechanically sound first. We'll carry on. I know I need to pick up an exhaust seal. There's a bike shop that I can order stuff online. They don't have everything that I need, but they have quite a bit of it. So I'm going to be pulling parts from everywhere to get this thing going. So, okay, we'll move on to the next process here, and we'll get some footage. Alright, so I've got the tank sanded down, got it down with 600 grit. That's not the final coat. I'm going to, I got it semi cleaned up, it's okay. What I'll do is once everything mechanical is good, then I'm going to go back over it again and make sure it's prepped properly, and I'm going to get it primed and painted. The fuel petcock O-ring was hardened up, so put some sealer around it, works okay. Put a new pair of grips on it because I had some in stock, and they needed to be done. So next up is I've got the headlight out. It's a 6-volt system on this bike, so strange, but it's a glass headlamp with a replaceable bulb, but it's got a plastic cover that goes over it. The plastic cover is rather dingy. So I'm going to use this product. I'm going to use Plastex and on a buffing wheel, and I'm going to buff this up, make it look nice and clean, make it look like glass, nice and clear, and then we'll pop back together. I'll show you the finished product when I'm done. So I changed it up a little bit. Instead of using the a buffing wheel and a drill, I just threw this buffing pad in my little drill press. Still use the same product, Meguiar's, I think it is. Meguiar's Plastex. I didn't put anything on the pad, on the buffing wheel itself. I just ran it just the way it was, and I just went nice and slow, no pressure, high speed but no pressure, and turned out okay. Well, it's hard to tell with a glare but actually you can see right through it now. Not too bad. Anyways, it's good enough. It's a dirt bike. Now I gotta find a 6-volt bulb for it. Strange little bulb. There's ones that look just like this, but they go in the front marker lights, or the front running lights on my Honda 450 Foreman. But these are 6 volts and those are 12s. I have spares for the Foreman, but they're not gonna work. So I'll have to find a new bulb. This one's, both filaments are burnt, high and low beam. No big deal. We'll get something figured out. It's 2 screws to change it. It'll be easy to figure out later. Okay, on to the next thing. So I've been fighting an issue with a fuel leak. The petcock has a seal on the bottom of it. That's a new O-ring, but the old one was flattened and hardened out. So just took a regular round O-ring, found one that would fit in there, and it works pretty good. So I put it back on the tank, and it still leaked. But I was able to determine, since the major leak from the O-ring was fixed, I was able to determine where it was leaking from. And it's actually leaking from the tank itself. It's cracked right in here. Now there was a product on this before. It was clear, kind of goldy, so I think it was something called Seal All. That stuff usually works pretty good, actually. I've used it before in the past, but I jumped to my local auto parts store and they don't have Seal All. But she said that this is what the guys are using. Plastic welder. I told her it was for a plastic gas tank. She said this is what the guys use. So we're going to try some. We're going to mix some up, and I'm going to end up putting it, I'll put it all the way around here, just to give it a little more structure. It has been cleaned, sanded, bright clean on a rag, so there's no oil, no residue there. We'll get you in the stand and we'll get fired up here. Okay, so I've got the ends broken off here. We're going to squeeze some out, equal parts. I'll put a lot in there, just because a little bit of waste is fine. This product will likely harden up in its tubes before I get a chance to use it again, so we'll see. Get the caps back on there. Comes with a convenient mixing stick. Man, this stuff stinks. It smells pretty bad, actually. Give her a good mix. Set time is 5 minutes, so I gotta get it on there and working. Give her a good mix. I'm gonna put lots on there to make sure, spread any stresses out over the rest of the entire plastic. So we'll start with a spot that I know is leaking. Right around there. Whew, this stuff reeks. I don't want to get any into the O-ring surface because the O-ring is actually working. Spread it out nice and thick. It's an old tank. I can probably find another one. Some ITs actually had alloy tanks because in certain countries plastic tanks were not legal. In certain countries this bike could actually be licensed for the road, and plastic tanks were not legal for the road, so there was an alloy tank available for these ITs. US and Canadian market always saw the plastic ones. Smooth her out. We got a little bit left, that's okay. That's okay. Nice big area. Put a little more on this side. It's starting to firm up in the mixing tray already. It's a good sign. The set time says 5 minutes. Cure time is 4 hours. So again, we wait before I can put fuel in it and try it. I'm anxious. I want to get this thing out on the trails, out in the dirt. There we go. So I spread it out pretty good. The leak was down in here. If I pushed on this area, I can actually see it flexing. Whew. Yeah, you should do this in a ventilated area. My eyes are starting to burn. So anyways, that's that. We're going to let that set for 4 hours before we put any fuel in it. Got a nice coat all the way around it. And that should do it. That should do it. And we'll go from there. I pulled the oil out of the transmission, and it was not so good. This takes 10W30 in the gearbox, so I just filled it up. It takes about 0.6 liters. I put half a liter in there. I'm going to run it for a short time, get the clutch working and everything, bang it through the gears, and we'll flush it out, and I'll put some fresh 1030 in there. So until the next segment here, guys, hang on. We'll get back to the camera in a few minutes. So here we are at an undisclosed location. It's actually a place out of the way that I grew up, and I can't burn my exhaust out at home. It's got neighbors that are too close. So this is my setup here. I got a 1200 watt heat gun on high, and I've just got it stuck onto that's the silencer or the muffler pipe. You can see the smoke that's coming out of it already. Yeah, that's not something I can do in my backyard. So from what I've seen and the amount of buildup that's in there, I don't think this has ever been done. It definitely needs to be done. It's soaked in there. Just starting to hear a roar coming out of that muffler, so it might actually start on fire soon and start bursting flames out. But anyways, we're gonna get this and we're gonna let it burn off, and we're gonna keep running it until there's no more smoke, and then we're gonna gently tap on the side of on the pipe itself and let all the loose carbon roll out, and then we'll have to take the expansion pipe off the front of the bike, the second part of the exhaust, and we'll burn that out too. So I'll get some more footage of that. There you go, you can hear it. It's actually caught fire inside the muffler. It's kind of burning on and off. Yeah, it's actually, yep, sounds like a pulse jet engine. Yeah, it's caught fire inside the muffler, which means the oil's got up to temperature. It's making a lot of smoke. Good thing we're out in the middle of nowhere. You can hear the fire starting to slow down now. That's good. It means most of the oil's burned off. Actually, the smoke is clearing up a little bit too. This is a long process. I'm not going to film the whole thing, but we'll let her go and see what happens. I've been using my torch here just to warm up the outside of the silencer, just to get the burn going. Usually once the burn starts going, then the oil goes away a lot faster. We've got some flamage happening and helping. Alright, I'll click this back on when we've got something more interesting. So I let the silencer burn out. Pretty much all the smoke was gone. Now I've got the head pipe up there, and I know this one's full of oil. You can actually hear it starting to bubble in there. So I've got my heat gun sealed to the pipe with a little bit of aluminum foil. That's likely going to melt. Or the heat gun will. I'm not sure. And I've warmed up the outside of that expansion pipe with a torch, just to get things going. And we're going to let her smoke off and see what happens. Maybe we'll get a flamethrower like the last one. Here we go. Starting to roar. You can hear it cooking. Lots of smoke now. That pipe was pretty packed full of oil. That one's going to take a little while to burn off. I can see a puddle of stuff coming out of it now. Oof! I might carry on doing that for a bit yet. Lots of oil in there, melting out. Alright, let's see what happens. Got a good amount of flamage coming out of there now. It stopped popping and backfiring, so. But we did have a casualty. You see the nose of that heat gun is just melting. Ah, well. It's okay. Heat guns are like 30 bucks. So I'm not overly concerned. We're going to keep going until the flames burn out, and then it'll smoke for a bit, and then it should be done. We'll get the camera back on in a bit. Alright, so this concludes the test and part one of this bike. There's going to be a part two. I'm going to, because it's mechanically nice, I'm going to clean it all up, make it nice. I'm going to paint the blue blue. I'm going to shine up the white. I might get myself a taillight lens for it. They're about 50 bucks. I'm going to replace a headlight bulb, and we're going to get it cosmetically nice. So it did run great. I had forgotten how much fun dirt bikes were. It's been quite some time since I've been out on the dirt like that. But no, it's great. The exhaust doesn't smoke as bad as it used to, and that was because there was a ton of oil in that pipe. I must have got a half a cup of oil out of it once I started heating it up and burning it out. So got some mud on the tires. Well guys, thanks for joining me on this. I was really hyped up about this one. I missed dirt biking, so we'll carry on. Maybe I'll get some more dirt bike footage. There will be a part 2, but for now we're going to wrap this one up. Until next time, thank you very much for joining me. It's good to have you. Please smash the like button and give me a thumbs up. It gives me some incentive to do some more. Subscribe if you like, and if you do, don't forget to click the bell icon. You will get notified when I upload new videos, especially part 2s. It's always interesting to see the final product. So have a good one, guys. Take care.